Okay, today's lesson is about a quick and effective way of ensuring that we get full credit on constructive response questions, specifically those that require a paragraph response. But this can also be applied to body paragraphs in the work of a greater essay. But the mnemonic device that we're going to use is called RACER. First thing is to restate the question. The second part is to answer the question. The third part is to cite evidence from the text. And the next part is to explain evidence from the text. And last but not least, this final R means to repeat steps C and E at this point. And then the last thing that I'm going to kind of add to the mix is that we're going to use transitional phrases twice that are about illustrating or examples as well as logical and cause and effect. So hopefully these are some new tools that you can use in your writing arsenal. So when I refer to RACER, a lot of times we will see questions that look eerily like this. What was the author's main purpose for writing such and such a thing? Or what was the author's main argument? Or what kind of evidence did the author propose or show in order to support the idea that? So normally what it doesn't hurt to do is to put the R and A, the C, E, C, E. So cite evidence, explain it, cite evidence. But more specifically, how do we do this by using transitional phrases? How do we write effectively? And so these are some handy tools that we're going to be using in the following weeks. We're going to use illustrative or example transitional phrases like for example, for instance, to illustrate in particular and specifically. Once we've started a sentence with for example, then we're going to actually write a sentence about something that took place in the text. And then we're going to follow it up with logical or cause-effect phrases, and we're going to follow that up with a sentence. Thus, consequently, hence, accordingly, therefore. So I'm going to model this with an exemplar here. This particular question refers to a memoir that the students read in class this week. Well, The Way to Rainy Mountain, which was a memoir by Scott Malmaday. So here's the question. What was the author's main purpose for writing this memoir? So following our little RACER, which is to restate and then answer the question, to actually answer this, we're going to go with the following. We're going to say, the author's main purpose was to, and now you have to kind of know the article in order to complete the answer here, and I'm going to do that, but I have to make the font a little smaller. The author's main purpose was to pay tribute to his grandmother and the culture of his ancestors. Now, that is a provable main purpose for that particular memoir. But now, here's the problem is, what is our evidence to do this? Well, going into our little handy-dandy illustrative transitional phrases list, it can't hurt to start the next sentence with those words, for example, comma, and then what we would actually do is to summarize or give direct evidence from the text to support it. So I would say, for example, the author includes how his grandmother told the legend of Devil's Tower and how it guaranteed that all Kiowa had ancestors in the sky. Okay, well now we've cited evidence, we used for example, and now we're going to then have to explain it. Well, why does this work? So we're going to go up to our logical cause-effect phrases we're going to sense, and I'm going to use therefore. Therefore, the author is showing the rich cultural heritage and beliefs of the Kiowa through the legend that his grandmother taught him. So here it is. We have essentially done a transitional phrase for citing evidence, and then this happened in the text. Then we used a logical or cause-effect transitional phrase, and then we explained why it fits paying tribute to the culture of his ancestors, which this is a direct connection here. Now, going one step further, if we're following RACER, our last part of RACER is that we certainly have to do it twice. So we need to cite more text evidence. Well, before we lead into it, we should probably use another one of these illustrative or transitional or example transitional phrases. So I would say, and I will go into to illustrate, or we can even add another adjective to it to illustrate, to further illustrate. You don't have to follow the list exactly. To further illustrate, the author describes the landscape where his grandmother's house is, and compares it to her experiences and his time and how the family would have meals, celebrate feasts, and the like. Now, I can't fit all that in there. What I'm actually going to do is make my little font a little bit smaller. But nonetheless, we have more citation of evidence from the text, but we haven't explained, well, why does that fit? So I'm going to go ahead and start a new thing here, a new sentence, and I'm going to use one of these logical cause-effect phrases. And we've already used therefore, so I'm going to use the next one, which is hence. The author is showing the deep connection between the rough and lonely landscape that represents his grandmother, as well as the connections to family, feasts, and traditions that are important in this memoir. So if I'm following the logic of the situation, so we've restated the author's main purpose was to pay tribute to his grandmother and the culture of his ancestors. For example, the author includes how his grandmother told the legend of Devil's Tower and how it guaranteed that all Kiowa had ancestors in the sky. Therefore, the author is showing the rich cultural heritage and beliefs of the Kiowa through the legend that his mother had taught him. To further illustrate, the author describes the landscape where his mother's house is and compares it to her experiences and how the family would have meals, celebrate feasts, and obviously, I didn't finish feasts, and the like. Hence, the author is showing the deep connection between the rough and lonely landscape that represents his grandmother, as well as the connections to family, feasts, and traditions that are important in this memoir. So, in other words, we see we've restated and answered. We gave evidence from the text, but we led into it with a cool transitional phrase, for example. And then we did a logical connector with therefore. And then we did another piece of evidence, which was to further illustrate. And then we also used another logical connector to explain that evidence. So these are the short list of illustrative and example transitional phrases, as well as logical / cause-effect transitional phrases that we need to make part of our writing. It's going to allow us to effectively do the RACER technique. So I hope this was informative and gave you some ideas on how to organize or structure your body paragraphs or paragraph responses in formal and informal writing. Thank you.